And we're back with episode 31 of Dog Football Weekly. It's your host Reed with the co-host
Russ.
And today, after a long wait, we have the University of Georgia Athletic Director, Mr. Josh Brooks. Mr. Brooks, how are you doing today?
Doing pretty good. We had some storms in Athens last night.
Yes,
the winds
sir.
got a little crazy. I think I just read it was up to 70 miles an hour. So we got a bunch of trees down all around campus and around Athens. So it's going to be a couple days probably without power for a few. So hopefully we can get this restored pretty quickly.
Yes, sir. We were downtown last night. We were moving his sister's furniture, actually, and we were going to eat, and he was like, it's not going to rain. I don't see it. And then just out of nowhere, just flipped like that.
Yeah,
But-
it came in quick.
Yeah, so let's jump right into it. Mr. Brooks, just tell us how you got started kind of in this on this track to become athletic director. What all you have to do, and tell us a little bit about your past and the jobs you worked before.
Yeah, so coming out of high school, my first goal in life was to be a coach. I wanted to be a football coach.
Yes, sir.
And coming out of high school, I knew that I wasn't talented enough to play college football, but I knew, that there's opportunities to work in different ways. So I started volunteering as an equipment manager at LSU. Eventually earned a scholarship as a manager, worked there, and then going into middle way through my sophomore year, they hired Nick Saban, and Jimbo Fisher was the office coordinator. Well, I got assigned to work with quarterbacks with Jimbo, and then going into my senior year, he let me be kind of a hybrid between a manager and a student assistant, which allowed me to get my foot in the door, start learning football, and that parlayed me into getting a grad assistant job at Louisiana Monroe.
Yes,
I was there a couple years, and that experience was great because when you're at a small school like Monroe, you get to do a little bit of everything: recruiting, scout team, administrative work. So it was a great experience for me. Then I was hired there as director of operations. Kind of was a shift for me at that point in time because I thought I really wanted to be a coach, but they offered me my first full-time job. So I was so excited to have a full-time job at 23 that that I said I'll try this out. Wound up loving it. It was a lot of fun. I liked the variability of the work and how it changed up day to day. And then I actually got out of football for about a year and a half. I went and worked in California in home building. It was right after Katrina hit Louisiana, and it was just even though it didn't directly impact us in Monroe, it just indirectly made a lot of things difficult. And I was just ready to try something new. Then after a year and a half, came back to Monroe for another year. And then in 2008, blindly applied for a job at Georgia with Coach Rick. Got the job as assistant director of ops. Worked my way up through here. And then at the end of 2010, Greg McGarity hired me into administration. And that was another shift in my life to where I could stay down the football pathway or go into administration. I just had kids. I had kids that were a year and a half old, twins. And I felt like this would be more of a stable lifestyle. I could spend more time with them. So I went the administrative route, and I worked my way up. And then 2014, I kind of felt like I was hitting my head on the ceiling where I needed some new experiences. I was doing the same things. I was associate dean, internal operations, working with facilities, event management, things like that. But I needed to step out of my comfort zone. And in 2014, I took a job at Millsaps College, a D3 school in Jackson, Mississippi. And that was a great learning experience for me. Did that. And then I went back to Monroe as deputy AD. And then at the end of 2016, came back to Georgia as executive associate AD and worked my way up a little more. And then when Greg retired at the end of 2020, I got the job in 21. I just, luck and faith and blessing all working out. And I've been in this role now for 2.5 years since then.
Yes, sir.
Well, can you tell us a little bit about your day-to-day as the athletic director?
Yeah, it's there is no normal day-to-day. It's every day is different. There's a lot of regularly scheduled meetings that fill up the day. That a weekly meeting, monthly meeting, things like that. That are on the schedule. Then there's a lot of impromptu things. There's every now and then I'll go spend a whole day going out and meeting with donors. There'll be random donor lunches. There'll be campus events. There will be recruits come to campus. I'm meeting with a recruit today. So every coach knows every sport they ever want me to meet with a recruit. I'll make time for that. And then there's planning for the next thing, right? So but on top of all that, there's the impromptu things that happen every day. Anything that pops up whether it's an employee walking in your door saying, I've got another job offer, and how are you going to respond to that, whether it's an employee issue and you've got to decide if you're going to let somebody go. Or so there's just, you could have a plan for the day, but there's a lot of impromptu things come up that can eat up chunks of your time. So you got to be very disciplined with your time. So for me, it's very important. I kind of have a routine where I get in early every morning and I try to knock out the small stuff, try to knock out the emails, try to knock out correspondence, writing thank you notes, things like that. That way, when the day hits, when it gets going at 8:15, I'm ready for whatever the day may bring. Because, like I said, I may have, like today, I've got meetings back to back to back to back till noon, but I've got to be ready for. I got to find a break because inevitably, while I'm in these meetings, there'll be some text messages building up, some phone calls. So you're just always kind of feel like you're getting behind. So you better carve out time to catch up, or else you'll never, you'll never catch up, and you'll feel like you're always behind on things like that.
Well, definitely. I have a question. What is it like being kind of overseeing and interacting with like a great football coach like head coach Kirby Smart? What is that like on a daily basis?
It's motivating for me because there's not a person, he's cut from that cloth where he works so hard and he's so relentless in the pursuit of constant improvement that it motivates you to challenge yourself to get better. It challenges you to get out of your comfort zone and not just be complacent with anything we do. There's not a single thing that Coach Smart takes on within his program that he's ever complacent with. He's always reevaluating, always challenging himself and his staff to find ways to get better, do something better. So it motivates you. It makes you bring your A game every day because you want to match that intensity. You want to match that effort. So when you get to work with people like that, it's really motivating.
Yes, sir. Well, while we're on the football topic, do you have a favorite player that you saw come through here while you've been here?
That will get me in a lot of trouble. I was joking and I made the list of top 10 one time, and then I got a bunch of messages. So I love them all. There's been a lot of special ones that have come through. If I start naming one, it's going to get bad. But I can say, they span several generations. Obviously, when I was here in football ops, 2008, 2009, 2010, those 3 years of football ops, there was a lot of guys I was really, really close to. Again, I'm not going to say names because as soon as I say a name, I'm going to lose my out. And then most recently, there's a lot of guys I've been close to. I was very close to N'Kobe Dean. He was a mentee of mine, which that's just in name only because he didn't need my mentorship. The guy's got his head on his shoulders so well. But there's so many guys like that, like Kyrus Jackson and Ron Goody, and just so many guys that I just love to spend time with. Cedric Van Pran is a guy I'm close to now. He's a fellow Louisiana native. But again, I hate to leave anyone out. Lab McConkey. You could go on and on and on. But there's so many great young men on the team that I care about. And look, my care for them goes beyond just the field. Like I care about them where they're going to be in their life 20 years from now. I always tell the story that my proudest moment is going to be, I'm proud of championships, right? But what I'm going to be more proud of is in 20 years, or now it's going to be 19, when we have like a 20-year reunion, or in 24 years when we have a 25-year reunion of the 21 championship team, and N'Kobe's out there, and I've seen the man he's become. Whether that's a husband, a father, a businessman, what he's done in the community, and seeing where he's going to be 24 years from now, that's what's going to make me most proud, and that's what fills my cup up, thinking about that.
Yes, sir. Well, definitely. At LSU, you said Nick Saban was hired towards the end. Did you get to really be around him a whole lot?
Yeah, so working with quarterbacks, we worked pretty closely because a lot of the drills and things when we'd go 7-on-7 or 1-on-1, when he'd spend a lot of time with the DB. So a lot of the drills we'd be doing with quarterbacks and receivers would be very closely working with DB. So I got to work pretty closely and see him and his coaching style up close.
I know it's been 20 years or so since he was hired there, but do you see like the comparisons? Because a lot of people compare Kirby Smart to Nick Saban and kind of say like they're kind of Kirby Smart's like a younger version of Saban. Do you see that too?
Yeah, there's comparisons in all. I would say all great coaches, but I never want to just base it down just to say this
Yes,
is a carbon copy. Every coach is unique and has their own style and things that make them different. But obviously things that make them great, there's similarities, and I saw those similarities in Coach Fisher as well. And again, I think a lot of those things come down to attention to detail, comes down to focus, comes down to energy, and that relentless pursuit of getting better. So you see a lot of things, but I would never. I hate when people just make a general comparison of this coach is like this coach, because every coach is so different and their styles are so different. But they bring their own skills and talents to the table.
Yes, sir.
Well, I've got one last question. What are your expectations for the next season, the upcoming season for football?
For me, I don't. You've got goals of where you want each program to be, but I don't get caught up into the expectation game, because every minute I think focused on beyond game one is waste of time. So for me, I buy into the theory of it's how do we get better today? So how do we get better today, and then the next day, and the next day, and you pile all that up, and then you go to the first game. And the first game is the most important game because it's the next game, and then next game. So I think anytime you spend looking ahead or worrying about expectations is wasted time. So for me, I don't get caught up into, I know everybody's talking about three-peat, if it happens, it happens. But what we got to truly be great, whether we're talking about volleyball, soccer, cross country, football, and on, everyone's got to focus on what can we do today, what's important now, as Coach would say. And I think that's the focus and that's the mindset that if you stack those days up, when you look back and say, okay, we've achieved things. But by looking ahead, it's just wasted time and energy.
Yes, sir. I have one more question too. Obviously, next year, Texas and Oklahoma will join the SEC, and just as not even football, but just as a whole, like, what are you looking forward to really about bringing in kind of two blue blood programs, not only in football, but they're great basketball programs, softball.
It's going to elevate a ton of sports. I mean, when you
Yes,
think
sir.
about Texas and Oklahoma bring a lot of talented programs, and you think about Texas swimming, you think about Oklahoma softball. They're strong in tennis, strong in golf. So I think it's going to elevate an already strong conference, because football gets the majority of the attention. But when you really start digging into it, look at baseball, look at softball, look at track and field, look at tennis, look at golf. We have so many strong. So when you add two programs of that caliber, it's just going to lift our conference up even more to where we are the dominant conference, and we want to be the dominant conference across the board. So it's exciting, and I think it's exciting from a scheduling standpoint of the variability of the schedule, knowing we have two new teams to throw in the mix, and knowing that however the schedules shake out over the next few years, we're in a situation of where we're going to see every SEC team home and away every 4 years. So I think that's going to be really good for the fans moving forward.
Yes, sir. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing that. I know 2024, Georgia gets to travel to Texas and then travel to Tuscaloosa, and those are two games I'm definitely already circled on my schedule. But that's all the questions we have. Thank you very much for joining us today, Mr. Brooks.
Really appreciate it.
Y'all. Yeah, appreciate y'all.